Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tom Jeffrey. I'm one of the training technicians here at CaseWare UK. I'm joined by Anthony Launchby, one of our training consultants, and today we'll be looking at the top 10 most popular technical support queries. Tony is going to be taking you through the presentation while I'll be answering the questions you raise during the session. Before I hand over to Tony, I'll just mention that due to the number of delegates, we won't be using the hand raising feature today. So if you have a question, please enter it into the chat facility on the GoToWebinar control panel. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we will try and incorporate as many of your questions into that session as we can. We're also recording the webinar and we'll publish it on the knowledge base. Depending on how many questions we receive, we'll also publish a Q&A document. I'm now going to pass you over to Tony.
Thanks, Tom, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. As Tom mentioned there, we're looking at the top 10 most popular technical support queries. We had a few requests come in on past webinars to have this type of webinar. So we put the top 10 together as per the records from support. Now, I'm sure there's probably a couple that you guys are experiencing yourself, issues and so on. So if you feel like putting a query down and sending it across to us, then we've got a bit of time at the end, as you can see there with that Q&A session. Should be about 5 minutes, depending on how we get on through the other bits of the content. Okay, so first area we're going to be looking at is how to check the EPAC level. So we're going to start off with the more simpler ones first. As this is an introductory webinar, it's aimed at newer users. So if you know what this is, then bear with us as we get through to some content that may be more relevant to you. Okay, so first off then, how to check the EPAC level. For you guys, it's going to be within your accounts advanced files. So I'm just going to go through and open up a CaseWare file. We've got a demonstration file for today, as you should be able to see on your screen now. When you're checking for EPACs within CaseWare, just open up the file and go to Other Docs. The support information here will show you the EPACs that are not actually applied to the individual engagement files, but the EPAC that's installed within your machine. Okay, so for most of us, then we're going to be more interested with the Accounts Advanced or the Accounts Advanced IFRS, which will be this EP4.03.04. Now, as I said, it's only saying that we've got that installed on our machine. It doesn't mean we've applied it to our files. Now, if you are the AP contact or the IP contact to your firm, you will get notification of these EPACs and as and when they're released. If you're not the AP contact, then you won't obviously get those notifications. What it means as well is if you went to, say, the knowledge base and signed into the knowledge base as an AP and IP contact, you'll get this download area over here. If you're not, obviously, you won't see that. That'll be hidden. If you think you should be the AP contact or the IP contact, then get in touch with us and we can look at updating our records to give you access to that download area. But it's very straightforward. You click on download areas. It has the particular area that you want, so it counts. And then you can go through and see the release information and download the EPAC. Okay. Now, as we go through today, I'm not going to refer back to the knowledge base for every single query that we cover, but just be aware that we will be adding like a check sheet at the end, which shows the topics we're covering and the associated articles. But everything we are covering today will be able to be found within the knowledge base. Okay. All right. So that's the first one, and EPACs, nice and easy way to start off. The next one really to look at is the permission denied error. It says here, again, message when opening the wizard. It doesn't just have to be the wizard. You could get permission denied if you're using the audit template and you open up your audit Word programs or planning checklists or anything like that, or the accounts document in the accounts. What the permission denied is simply saying that you don't have the security rights within your program files folder. Now, I was going to go through and open up a file explorer window, so got one open there. From within here, what we do when we first install CaseWare, we obviously set up the CaseWare within your program files 86 folder, and within there you have your CaseWare folder. Now, what should be within the, or what is within the installation help sheets is guidance on saying what we need to do with regards to security. But simply, if you are getting that permission denied, just to see if this is the problem, go to CaseWare, right click, go to properties, and then from properties, click on security. What you'd see there is that you have different users or different groups that have been set up. And if you clicked on users there, what you should be expecting to see is at minimum modify, but full recommendation by CaseWare is that you have full control on that folder. The reason being is because you've got two programs within this CaseWare folder. You've got CaseWare Working Papers, and also what you've got there is Case Views. So you get two programs within the same installation folder. So what we need to do to make sure we've got access to Case View, which is the one I'm circling around now, we need to make sure we've got either modify or full access. If we don't, as and when we try and use this utility program, which is within the CaseWare directory, you're going to get that permission denied error, which will stop you proceeding through. Okay. Now, obviously on here, if you have got the right access right, so if you're an administrator, you can click on Edit, and then you can go down to, say, User Group, and just tick the box to allow full control, press OK and apply, and that will update it as you go. I'd imagine most of the people on the webinar today have got security settings set up so only certain individuals can do that. So this may be something that you need to speak to your manager about, or go through and contact your IT support help desk. Okay. But simply, if you get the permission denied error, in most cases, it will be just changing these two settings here. Okay, so nice and simple. All right, so the next area then would be looking at unlicensed for this client type. Now, again, if you're new users to CaseWare, it's likely that you may see this. Now, it won't stop you progressing through the accounts. You can still use all the functionality on the toolbar, as you can see there. But what will happen is, as and when you try and print a set of accounts, you're going to get an evaluation watermark go across the page. So I'm just in the accounts now, and you can see I've got that unlicensed for this client type. If I go to print preview, you'll see that when this loads, that I'm going to get that watermark going across the page saying that it's evaluation. Okay, so you can still use the software, it's just you can't print anything out, obviously send it on to clients. So that's a bit of a pain point. So if you are experiencing this, it may be as simple as going through and entering your serial number. Now, if I go and I'm just going to open up a file explorer again. So I'm back to that screen where we looked at the CaseWare folder. Within the CaseWare folder, what you guys have access to is the add-ins. And within add-ins, there's two areas that can help us here. We've got cwmaintenance.exe, or we've got casewaremaintenance.exe. Both will allow us to go through and enter serial numbers. Okay, all we need to do is right click and open, and once we open up there, your job would be go through and put in a relevant serial number. So 121-777-654, and what it's going to do is pause the screen there so you don't see my full serial number. And once you guys have typed this in, what you'll do is there's a save button. So you can see the save button there, and that will become active. Okay, so you just select save. Once you select save, then this little box will pop up here saying serial number has been saved, and you just press OK. And once you press OK to that, then it will close the maintenance screen down for you. Okay, so once you do that, you can jump back into the accounts. Now, in a moment or two, it will refresh on its own, but more likely the case is, and best recommendations is just to close down CaseView. And once you close down CaseView, save the document, reopen it, and once you've reopened it, that new license serial number will be applied to your file and remove that watermark across your page. Okay, so it's quite a common support call for new users. So if you're experiencing that, again, what we'll do is we'll make the article available for you at the end of the webinar. And again, you can go through and send that on to your IT if that helps. All right, so the next section then is how to edit standard wording in the accounts document, i.e. an accounting policy. So this one comes up quite often. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the creditor's accounting policy as a starting point. I'm going to run you through a few things just to show you how to edit the text. Now, there are a couple of methods of editing text within CaseWare. And if we look at, say, the reports, there's an edit text facility. If we look at notes and so on, there's an option to insert user text. So what we do is I'm just going to jump into my file. So I'm back in CaseWare file now. I was going to open up the accounts document. Once you go through and enter the serial number, and it always takes a little bit longer reopening the accounts document. Again, so if you do experience that, just bear with. Now we can see some knowledge libraries. Now my guidance usually would be just to accept these. However, because I want to demonstrate a few things that are on the file, I'm going to deselect all for today and select OK. Okay, so back in the file then. So at this stage then, what I said is we'd look at the accounting policy for creditors. So I'm just going to use my document map there to navigate to creditors. And once I scroll up a little bit, we can see the standard text. Now, CaseWare's disclosures are there to help us with the setup of the files, but again, it's up to you to define the wording within that accounting policy or note to be particular to the engagement that you're working on. Now, with the creditors here, it may be the case that you don't want to stick with this standard text by CaseWare. Now, what you can do, and this is the real starting point for most new users, and what we recommend all users to use, is to jump to the notes section of the toolbar. What you might be seeing today, guys, is my toolbar looks slightly different than yours. We had a new layout to the toolbar that was recently released within EP40304. So if you haven't applied that EPAC yet to your installation, your icons might look slightly different than mine. Generally similar enough, like the user text ones, so shouldn't get lost, but just in case you're wondering why there is a difference. Okay, so for the creditors then, what we'll do is we'll click within the note. Once we click within the note, I'll put your mouse cursor within the text, you can go to the use text paragraphs that you can insert on the note section of the toolbar. As you can see there, it enters in a green text field. Again, if I select the next one along, it'll give me a green text field just below the standard text. Now, these two fields are designed by CaseWare for you to go through and tailor, put any text in that you wish, what's required within the file. Now, this text here, any text within this field will never be affected by a knowledge library update. So if I just highlight this text quickly as a starting point, I'm going to right click and select copy. And I'll use Control V to paste that text into that field. I'm going to go through and turn off the bottom use text section. And also at this stage here, I don't need CaseWare's text anymore. So what I can do here is just turn off CaseWare's text by using the middle section. Now, with this bit here, the way we've worked this is that we can go through and enter in new rows, shift and enter, and again, add in more additional text if we wanted to. Now, the way we've set this up at the moment, it's never going to be affected by CaseWare's knowledge library process. CaseWare's knowledge library updates only affect the CaseWare default text, so that middle section, again, as you can see, that highlighted. Now, there are other edit facilities on here which we're going to discuss a little bit later, but you've got one within presentation, and this is the edit text facility. This is what you're going to use for editing text within, say, directors' reports and so on. Now, if I went up to director's report, I could turn this edit facility on, and what it'll do is it'll bring me a little warning message up to say the facility allows amendments to the statutory text, and any changes will return to default as and when we update a KL, so a knowledge libraries. If we select yes there, everything turns into that green editable text in the same way as nearly the same way as we saw down on the accounting policy. There is a slight difference though, and we're going to come back to this a little bit later, so to make it nice and clear what the difference is and what information is retained when we update our files, knowledge libraries. Now, the reason why I'm going to come back to it later is because next what we're going to do is look at how to change style of text. Now, the style toolbar within the accounting files toolbar allows us to go through and change fonts, font sizes, make things bold, underlined, whether it's centered, and so on. Now, one of the key areas on there is that you get a change style button on the end of the toolbar. And what that will allow us to do is change that default text from CaseWare, as you can see there within the creditors note at the top. We could go through and change that default text to green editable text. Okay. So we'll go back and we're going to go back into the creditors note. Great. So what we're going to do here then is we're going to change the style of this body of text. So this body of text here, which is the standard default, we can change it, as mentioned, into a editable text. So we can click on style, and on the far right hand side we can select the change style button. Now before we press the change style button, just make sure your cursor is within that body of text. Click on change style. Now CaseWare works in a very similar way to what Word does, in respect of that we set styles up to make sure that we can get lots of consistency throughout the accounts document. So as you scroll down, you'll see there's quite a few styles in it. The kind of the clue to give away here is that we'll see a box with a tick in it. So that says text standard indented accounting policy. So what we want to do there is we want to change this now. So if we go down 2 rows, we can see we've got text STD, IND, IMP accounting policy. So the IMP there stands for input. So if I tick that box here and select OK, what we'll be seeing is that we get a little warning message pop up to say we're changing the standard text to the text standard indented input accounting policy. We'll confirm that again by pressing OK. And when we do, we can go through and edit the text. So we can do exactly the same thing. I can use Shift and Enter to drop a line, paste in the same body of text. So it doesn't look like there's much difference between the creditors at the top and the creditors note at the bottom. Effectively, it's the same. Now, the main difference between this is that if we take a knowledge library update, this information up here will be retained. If I take a knowledge library update on this section, then this section here will return to CaseWare default. Now, all of you within your Accounts Advanced toolbar have got access to update knowledge libraries. If you're using the old toolbar, you'll find it within Help. If you're using a new toolbar, you'll see it in Tools. Okay. Now, you can either use the KL update button or the section update. I'm just going to click within the note and select section update. It's going to ask me to confirm that I want to update the knowledge library, so I'll select OK. And then you have all those knowledge libraries we saw earlier, so I'm just going to deselect those, and I'm going to go through and just select the accounting policy for creditors. As and when I select OK, it's going to take a moment or two to go through and update the text, but CaseWare is now going to look through the middle section of that note and return the middle section's text back to default. So you can see now on my screen that the standard section that we started off with has returned to default, but the section I added in using the user text paragraphs from the note section of the toolbar is still remain there. Okay, so if you are going to go through and edit the accounting policies and notes and so on, you're much better off setting up the file using the user text sections, because that information and that customization will be retained in your file and it will roll forward to next year. And what it also means is that you guys can always take the CaseWare knowledge library updates, because we're editing in that way. Those knowledge library updates are never going to overwrite our work. Whereas if we use change style, as you saw here, any change I made to this reverted back to default, and meaning that potentially I have to repeat work. Okay. Now, going back up to the director's report, I said about the change style button. So the edit text button here. Now, this black line down by the green section basically says that it's effectively the same as change styles. If I was to go through and insert rows here and then add in some edited text, then if I took a knowledge library update, this whole section here would revert back to this whole section here would revert back to default. Now, what you guys can do within the director's report and every other report section, whether it's strategic or audit report, is you guys can go through and add in your own user text section. So if you weren't too happy with, say, the wording for the auditors, so you wanted to use some different wording here, rather than turning this edit pen on, what you can do is you can click on auditors, go to note, and you can add in a user text section, and you'll see as and when that drops in, so you can see that just here, that is now going to be kept and retained on knowledge library updates. And the way we know that is because on the right hand side over here, you can see that we don't have a black line. So if I went through and I edited the text above, where you've got the black line on the right hand side, so edit text, and we'll do the same here. And if I took a knowledge library update on this section, then this edit text should remain, whereas this edit text here should return to default. Okay, so just to show you that quickly, tools, section update, again, confirm our choice, deselect, and then we've got our director's report auditors section, tick the box, press OK. And what you'll see is then the edit text at the bottom will remain, and the one at the above here, where we've got the black line to the right side, will return back to default. Okay, so you can see everything there just bunch up a little bit. So even when you're editing the audit reports or any statements, what we can do is, from presentation, I'd actually recommend you guys turn off the edit pen. And instead, if I want to go through and change the wording for this auditor's CaseWare LLP, is I'd go to Note, I'd turn off the middle section and activate either a user text section at the bottom or the top. And you can see here, if I turn off the user text section in the middle, then that CaseWare default text is hidden and we can edit it how we feel we need to. Okay. All right. So that's a little bit about editing. Hopefully you find that helpful. Again, there's articles on the knowledge base that you can use and refer back to. Next section for us is talking about inserting manual page breaks. Now, we've got two choices here. We can insert page breaks using the note section of the toolbar, or what we can do is we can change the style of text or insert user text sections where we can manually insert a page break in between, say, paragraphs. So again, what we'll do is just jump back into the file. And once we're back in there, what I'll do is I'm just going to navigate back down to my creditor's accounting policy. Now, first things first here is if I put if I click on the creditors, what you'll see from the note section is I get these page break options here. So these are quite simplistic. They'll allow me to put a page break at the top of the note and one at the bottom. So one at the top, and then, as you can see, one at the bottom. It doesn't allow me to break up bodies of text. Now, obviously, the body of text here isn't very large, so it's very unlikely that I'm going to want to put a page break in the middle of it. However, what you'll be able to do is, by selecting Shift and Enter to drop a couple of lines, you can also use Control and Enter, so that's Control and Enter, to insert a manual page break. So again, make sure your cursor is within the body of text, and then press Control and Enter. Once you do that, you get this little window pop up. You get some different options here, so next page, next even page, and so on. Again, more likely is the case, we just want to leave it as default and select OK. Once you do that, you'll see the page break goes in, and if we went to a print preview, then you'll see that obviously the page break has been set out in the way that I want. So there's the first section of the text, and as I go down, there's the second section. Okay. Now, the only other thing on page breaks just to be aware of is that you can go through and put page breaks at the top of creditors, but I can then also go to cash and cash equivalents and put a page break at the bottom. As I'd imagine most of you would probably appreciate, that's going to give you a blank page. Okay, so if you're reviewing your accounts and you see a completely blank page, it's probably because someone's put a page break at the top and the bottom of the notes. So as we go down now, what we should see is a blank page, and then we get to our creditors note. Okay. Final thing about the page breaks here is to remove that page break in the body of text. All you need to do is press the backspace with it next to the page break, and that will delete the page break for us. Okay, and return it back to the default. Okay, so that's looking at page breaks. There's one other query that does come in regarding page breaks, and it's regarding the debtors note. Now, if I show you what that is within the account, so again, it's going to jump back into the accounts, and hopefully you should be able to see my screen now. If I scroll down to debtors note, now what my recommendation is from a training aspect, so as and when we go out training and show clients how to use it, what I'd be saying for you guys to do is to put your mouse cursor within the note where you want the page break. So tangible fixed assets is quite a good idea to have a look at. What you can do is if you just click within the note, so if I click at the top of the note here or on the note title, if I go through and select a page break at the bottom, what you're going to see that in some cases notes are the tables are larger and more detailed, so they're actually made up of two sections. So I've now put a page break down the bottom, so you can see that activated. But if I scroll down to the bottom of the note, what we're going to see here is that actually there's another section of this note underneath the page break. Okay, so this is really kind of detailing or showing us that that's one section of the note, and then this is the other section. So what my guidance or recommendation would be is if I wanted to put a page break at the very bottom, so it was above stocks, then what I do is I place my mouse cursor at the bottom of the note, and at that stage then go through and select the page break button. Okay, at that point you're going to be given the page break at the bottom of the note rather than at the top. Now if we go to debtors and select the debtors note to put a page break at the top, you can see here that it doesn't add in the page break. Okay, if I put my mouse cursor in the body of text and then put the page break on, it'll put one at the top. So what quite a few users do is they'll click on the note title and they'll try and add in the page break, but you can see here it won't work. Now on some notes it does work, which is probably where the confusion lies. So if I went to stocks and tried to put a page break and stops there, you should see that it activates it. But not in every note does it work the same way. So our recommendation is if you're going to go through and put a page break in, is that you select the body of text within the note where you want the page break to go, and then select the relevant button that's appropriate. So again here, I can turn off the trade debtors, the page break above debtors by clicking on trade debtors, and that will deactivate. Okay, it's a little bit of a quirk with that note. Just to get around it, make sure we just put your mouse cursor where you want it to be. Okay. All right, so moving on to number 8 then. And this comes up in support quite a lot. It's all about presentation and keeping bodies of text together. You can see in the example there we've got, so under going concern, there's a large area of white text. And what some people would like to do is actually either pull text up into that area, or in some cases they want to not pull text up because they want the note of disclosure, the next note disclosure on, to stay together within one section. So what we do is we'll go back into accounts, and I'm going to go, first of all, we're going to go and have a look at the audit report. Within the audit report, what we can do is we can play around with these settings. Now, the keep together button is here within the note section. Okay, make a note of that because it's very handy as and when you go through. Now, before we get going, what I'm going to do is quickly select a print preview, just so we can see what the audit report looks like without modification. So we've got the opinion, basis opinion. As you scroll down, we've got other information. So other information there, it spans 2 pages. So this is one of the areas that you might say, well, I want that other information section, that whole body of text, to remain together on one page. As you scroll down a little bit further, we've got responsibilities of directors, and then we've got auditors' responsibilities, and then the use of this report. So there's a little bit of space here, up here, that you might say, well, actually, I want to fill that space. I don't want to have a blank space there. So what you could do is you could get this auditor's responsibilities statement to move up a little bit. Okay, so if I select close there, and if I scroll down, there we go. So this section here, this has got a keep together turn on. So if I keep this, so toggle keep together. So the keep together around this section has been removed. So what that means now is if these few rows here can fit on the page above, they will do, and the rest of the body of the text here will go on to the next page. Okay, so go back to the print preview. There we go, and you can see exactly what I mean there. If I scroll up to the next page, there's my auditor's responsibilities, and then it's split the note or the section of that text, and it's dropped the other 2 small paragraphs down below. Okay, so when you see that, I mean, it's going to be user preference on presentation. So if that's your preference to have it separate and span over 2 pages, then you can do. If your preference is to keep that text together so it gets all dropped onto the next page, just click within the note header there, and then go to keep together. Again, it will tell you that it's been reapplied, select OK, and then when you go back into print preview, what you'll see as you go down is, as you'd imagine, that auditor's responsibility section is now on one page. So again, this will be a manual task, and it kind of depends on what text and how we edit the text within the audit report. So each client could be slightly different. This is why it's hard for CaseWare to gear it up. So what we do instead is we give you guys the tools to be able to either remove the keep together text or to add it in. Okay, and this is applicable all the way through the notes. So as and when we go through to basic preparation, revenue note, this is all functionality that's applicable throughout the account. So it's not just within the reports. You'll find it within your accounting policies and your notes as well. Okay, so hopefully you guys find that helpful as you go through. Now, what we're going to do here quickly is I'm just going to jump back to the slides. And there we go. So the next one here is how to keep my note, how to get my note back to default. At this stage here, I mean, how do we get our note back to default? This might happen, especially for new users. Within the notes and tables, you can go through and you can edit row calculations. You can go through and obviously insert new rows, insert new more detail within the notes. And what CaseWare's got throughout is got these cross checks to say, okay, well, that debtors balance there of 923,000 must agree to the statement. And in this case, what it's doing is telling me that it doesn't agree to the statement and it's out by that 16,000. So what we can do is, in some cases, just maybe go back to default. If we've done something to a note and we're not too sure what's not working or why it's not working, sometimes it's just safer to go back to the CaseWare default. Now, so back in the accounts, what we can do is again scroll down to the debtors note and we'll see again that exact same scenario. We've got that 16,000 difference. We can see that I've edited a row, so you can see my prepayments and accrued income there has been edited. So you can see the little warning triangle there on the right hand side. It says that this row differs from the original table layout. So again, so it tells me that I've made a change to the template. So yeah, to the template and the debtors note specifically. Now, if we went back to the TB, and we can see there, as I go back to the TB, there's my prepayments row, and you can see that 16,534 in the prior year. So the figures within the TB, it's populating how it should be. However, it's just not populating back in the account. So back into the accounts we go. And from here then, ideally, we've got a few options. Now, you can go through and you can restore row defaults. So when you go to the table section of the toolbar, what you have the opportunity to do is use this option here. What that will do is restore the individual row properties back to the CaseWare defaults. Okay, so the calculation that should be populating here will be reverted back to the CaseWare default, and hopefully we should be seeing that 16,534. If there's a lot more going on, then what is probably a little more beneficial to remove and replace the whole note. Now, to remove and replace the whole note, you can go through and access the remove and replace option from the note section of the toolbar, and you'll see the remove and replace over here. Or on the new style toolbar, you've got tools, and you've also got the remove and replace here. So same functionality, two different places. Now, my only thing here about you using remove and replace, if you've gone through and you've built in a body of text underneath, so for example, you went to note and you added in a user text section at the bottom, and you said, okay, within the current year, within the trade debtors, X amounts of the balance related to X, Y, Z, and then in the prior year. So if you put some detail within this user text, if I use remove and replace, what it's going to do is it's going to remove any of the information I've entered into those user text sections. Okay, so these user text sections don't get affected by knowledge library update, but if we remove and replace the note, then they return to default. So first recommendation is if there's any text, highlight it, right click, copy it, put it into a Word document so I can easily transfer it back in after remove and replace. And then what we can do is we can just go through, and once you're happy with that, click on remove and replace. You're going to be asked to confirm, so at that point select yes. And then what we should be seeing is it's going to take a moment or two. What CaseWare is doing is deleting the note that we added in and we were just looking at then, and it's going through and going back to the program file folders, looking at the resource folder and taking a copy of the original note back and building it back in. So you're going to see the building tables and subtables and so on, a little dialog window and screen loading. So bear with that as it loads back in. It shouldn't take too long. Right, so you can see when the note's now loaded back up, we've now got our 16,534. At this stage here, then what we can do is just reapply that rounding. So again, just click on the row and you can reapply that rounding. Once you reapply it, obviously we'll get rid of the red banner here. So give that a second or two just to go through. And the reason I want to go through and clear the rounding is because I want to show you the next example, which the next example is what do you do if you've got no roundings shown, but you still have a red banner, as you can see here from the slide. So what the case is that the red banner here you can see on the slide says there are rounding errors within your accounts, and then you click on the click to view, and that view screen doesn't show you any roundings. The reason being is the red banner is geared up to look through your whole accounts document, whereas the dialog screen, which hasn't got anything on it, it just looks at active disclosures. So if I go back into the accounts, what we'll see is that if I click on to click to view, that I should have at this stage, I should have no roundings left. Okay, so we can see that now, that's nice and clear. So the issue then, as I said, is the rounding banner is looking through every single disclosure, whether they're visible or not, okay? Now, what happens when we first build accounts into files is that we can go through and we can change either the statement types or the layout, whether we're reporting under section 1A or if we're not reporting under section 1A. So what can happen is once you've built the accounts originally, you can go back into the accounts format section. I was going to take those updates, and you can change layouts. You can change from abridged to adapted. You can change to section 1A if that's applicable. And what happens at that stage is, as and when I go back here, I say, okay, I want it to be section 1A. What it does is it doesn't remove all the disclosures in the background from format for the full format. What it does is it keeps some of those disclosures active in the background. Now, hopefully that's clear. For you to check that yourself, so what you want to do is go back into the accounts document, and again from the tool section of the toolbar, we want to go through and activate the housekeeping option. So we'll just let that load, perfect, and we'll click on housekeeping. What housekeeping does is it looks at any notes and disclosures where we've got the tables built within your accounts document, but those tables aren't visible on the face of the accounts. So we can see straight away up here we've got strategic report, and on the left hand side over here that we saw earlier there was only a director's report, there was no strategic report built in. As you scroll down, you'll see there's more notes and bits and pieces as we go through. Now what effectively we'll have is from these notes, turnover 1, directors remunerations, there will be a rounding difference on here. So it could be just the case that the dividends here hasn't been analysed out. So we've got the dividends in the file, we've posted it to the right nominal account. However, but because we haven't split it out, say whether they're interim or they're final, CaseWare showing you this rounding difference. Now to clear these, all we need to do is select all and then press OK. Now, if you're unsure about these, then you have got the opportunity to remove the tick. So potentially, maybe you want to add the strategic report back in, and you don't want to tailor the wording again. So you can just go through and select to remove some of them. Once this has gone through and removed, what that should do is remove the disclosure in the background, which has got the rounding difference on it. And what that means is when we return back to the file, as you can see there, we've got that rounding banner has now been cleared from our screen. Okay. So if you're experiencing that, go to tools, go to housekeeping. If you're using the old toolbar, you'll find housekeeping under help. Okay. All right. So that leads us now onto our final, final run through on the Q&A, and I'm going to hand you back over to Tom. If you do have any questions still, obviously feel free to answer those or send them over in the question field, but I'm going to hand you back over to Tom now.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you to those who have sent a question as well. We've got a couple of questions come in. Please feel free to carry on logging them, and we will get back to you either later on today or on Monday morning. We'll also look to include those in the Q&A document. We do have a few minutes to cover a couple of questions. So we have got a question here which has come through, and that is, why is my trial balance showing as unbalanced after I post a two-sided journal?
Okay, Good question. I'm assuming the two-sided journals will obviously balancing off. If that's the case and everything's agreeing, everything's balancing off, then what might have happened is some of the databases might got stuck. So within your adjusting entries, if you've got a journal in here and it all balances off, then what we should be seeing obviously on the TB is that that adjustments column is 0. Now, if you're not seeing a 0 here and one of those sides isn't flowing through, what I'd recommend you guys do is just run a tools and repair file. By clicking on repair file here, you've got the options for recalculate file balances, repost all entries, reindex system. Just out of precaution, what I do is I just tick all 5 boxes to make sure that we're covered. Select OK. And what this is going to do is look through all the entries in your database, re-add them up. And at that stage, once you've completed it, you should remove that balance. If you're still experiencing that problem at all, then feel free to get in touch and we can arrange a support member to get in touch with you and run through it. Obviously, hopefully fix your file for you.
That's great, thanks very much. We have got another question, which is, how do I show 2 figures on the same row in this statement of changes in equity?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Generally, this is probably going to come quite often. What I'll do here, if I go quickly to the knowledge base, because we don't really have a lot of time to go through and run through this in detail. If you in the knowledge base and if you just search a multiple row, and what we should see here, there should, if I spell that correctly, yeah, we go. So how to populate a row from the mapping number, so not that one. If I go back quickly, make sure I get the right search term in there. Oh, quick vid, how to was the row from the mapping number. There we go. So try this one. There we go. So test row 1, extra notes. What we want to go through here, and there's a article on it, which with a quick vid, I'll show you how to split the map numbers up. What you'd want to be using is the other reserves. So text overlapping, how to insert a row into. What we'll do is I'll dig this out. I know there's an article there with a quick vid and explains it, and it tells you about all the mapping numbers and how we need to use the other reserves. And by using the other reserves, you guys will be able to go through and put the 2 figures within the same row within the socket. So yeah, I imagine that's going to come up quite a lot. So we'll definitely put that on the Q&A document at the end of the webinar. So anyone who needs that, log back into the knowledge base on the webinar. We'll put the link there to make it nice and easy for you to find. As you can see, that I found a bit difficult, but we'll make sure that's readily available. Okay.
That's great, thanks Tony, and thank you for the questions that came through. Apologies if we weren't able to answer your question during the broadcast. We will answer those as soon as we can and put them in the Q&A document for you. So looking ahead, we have some upcoming webinars over the next few weeks and months. You can see these on screen now. You can also view the agendas for them and register to attend via the events page of our website. So that brings us to the end of today's broadcast. Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed it. We really appreciate we'd appreciate it if you could take the time to complete the feedback form at the end. And if you have any ideas for future content, please let us know and we'll look to include it in a future webinar. Thanks very much again for joining us today. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good afternoon.